What is good? What is good? This is your guy Manny, and welcome to the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel. So, got a quick little stream for you guys today. We're going to talk rookie drafts and talk about the different trends that I see what's going on. So, we all know that this rookie class was not a good QB rookie class, right? You had, um, like the obvious in Cam Ward, went number one overall. So just him going number one overall holds a lot of weight, right? But then you still have people that are disrespecting Cam Ward in Superflex rookie drafts. I've been able to see Cam Ward go anywhere from 1-2. I've seen a few leagues where he went at the 101, but usually I'm seeing him go more realistically at the 1-4 to the 1-7 range. Believe it or not, Cam Ward is going at the 1-4 to the 1-7 range. And it's crazy to me because I feel like Cam Ward is going to be that next, I guess not, I don't want to say like that next great quarterback, but like that next rookie great quarterback performance type season, right? Like you have the CJ Stroud, you have the Jaden Daniels. I do think he can be a tad under that or somewhere in between. That's just how I feel. Now, you guys are probably thinking, well, how is he going to do it on the Titans? Well, how did CJ Stroud do it on the Houston Texans at the time? So I am definitely loving the landing spot being the Titans. They've added some wide receiver. Restrepo as an undrafted free agent, as well as DK. And then one of my favorite rookies in this draft is Alec Ayamana. I love him from Stanford. Had that big game versus Colorado, even though Colorado does not have a really good defense a couple years ago. But he's solid, man. He's big. He's 6'2", runs good routes. Not a blazer, but a guy that has sure hands, can high point the ball. So yeah, Cam Ward. So what I've seen so far in my rookie drafts, I'm not gonna tell you guys how many dynasty leagues I play in, but those who know me and know me well know that I play in a lot of dynasty leagues. So I've been seeing Cam Ward go between the 1-4 and the 1-7. There was a league, $100 league that I play in, and I had a pretty good roster. I'm going to pull up the roster on my phone. And to be honest, I didn't think that I even had a chance at Cam Ward. To be honest, I had the 1-4 in that league. Let me pull up my Superman league. Have a super solid roster. So I was not expecting him to fall at that point. So here are my quarterbacks. This is one of the weaknesses of my team. I had Aiden O'Connell, Kirk Cousins, Joe Flacco, Justin Fields, Bryce Young, and Levis, right? I also had Russell Wilson as well. So I traded Russell Wilson. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. So Cam Ward falls to me at 104. And my initial thought is, look, grab Cam Ward right away. So in that draft, Genty went number 101, like normal. Marion Hampton went 102, which is also normal. You get a lot of those. Travis Hunter usually goes anywhere between 1-3 to 1-6. I've never seen him fall outside of the top 6. Ever since the Jacksonville Jaguars said that Travis Hunter is going to start on offense, he's going to learn the offense first and then transition towards the defense. A lot of people were scared to draft the Travis Hunter because you don't know if you're going to get him playing majority DB and then a little bit of wide receiver. But Jacksonville has said he's going to start off on the offensive end. He had a pretty good mini camp today. We all know that the rookies are in mini camp right now. But yeah, Travis Hunter usually going anywhere between the 1-3 to that 1-6. I've not seen him fall outside of that just yet. Maybe the first couple of rookie drafts that we did see Travis Hunter fall outside of the top 6, but ever since I've been doing more and more rookie drafts, it's tightened up quite a bit. So I was able to get Cam Ward, like I said. That opened up an avenue for me to trade Russell Wilson in this particular league. I'm going to talk a little bit about one of my sleepers before we end the stream. I'm going to kind of give you guys some of the guys that I like and some of the guys that you guys should pursue in your rookie dynasty drafts. So we have that there. So also in this league, I had multiple picks in the first round. And one of my favorite targets in the first round between the 1.5 to the 1.8 range, or I'll say 1.5 to 1.7, because this guy's not falling to the 1.8. But if somebody is drunk in your league and this guy happens to fall to the 1.8, you take this guy and run with it. And that's Travion Henderson. I feel like Travion Henderson is going to have one of the better rookie seasons this year. Yeah, I know Ramondre Stevenson is still there, right? But we've seen Ramondre Stevenson at his peak. Travion Henderson is a guy that I wanted my Commanders to draft at pick 29. I believe that Travion Henderson was a first-round talent. He had a first-round grade for me. He goes in the second round. He goes to a perfect situation, which is New England Patriots. There's nobody on the roster that can do what Travion Henderson can do. So I'm telling you guys right now, Travion Henderson is a guy that I am grabbing over Quinshon Judkins, just for the simple fact. Now, there's different kinds of formats, it's different kinds of leagues that I play. This particular league that I've been talking to you guys about, Superman, this league, you get a additional point for every first down that you receive and also every first down that you run. So you can say it could have gone either way with Quinshon Judkins or Travion Henderson. So how did I really kind of decide who to pick? I had Devon Achane. I said, maybe Devon Achane is more Travion Henderson with the receiving work. And then I had I used a stud back that runs a lot, doesn't really catch a lot of passes, even though Quinshon does have the capability to catch passes. So I used somebody similar to Quinshon Judkins, and I put them side by side. I think it was Kyron Williams. And I put them side by side, and I'm like, look, both of these guys are tremendous talents. Now, in leagues where you get an RB premium, where you get like 0.25 points per carry, yes, I'll lean Quinshon Judkins. But if I'm looking for that upside, that running back that can get anywhere from 45 to 70 receptions in a season, that's Travion Henderson. I think that he is a back that can be on the field all three downs. Let's see what it looks like in pass protection. But I think they're going to phase out Ramondre Stevenson and even Antonio Gibson. Like, this guy gives you a little bit of both. And I love Travion Henderson a lot. I've been seeing Tet from Arizona go at numerous different spots of the draft. Before the draft, everybody's excited about Tet. I was excited about Tet, but I think the landing spot I didn't quite like, just because Bryce Young is not quite as an established quarterback yet, but he did show some signs of life at the end of the season. Now, in this particular league, I would have taken Tet at the 106, but for the simple fact that Cam Ward was there at 104, I grabbed Cam Ward at 104, grabbed Travion Henderson at 106. Then, I couldn't get Tet, but I think that Tet is in a good landing spot in terms of volume. He's going to get a lot of targets. And in fantasy football, what we all hope for and wish for is targets, right? When you're getting targets and when you're productive, that's when you're at your best when it comes to fantasy football. You can be as talented as you want. JSN didn't become more valuable until he got the opportunity, until he got target. So target is the name of the game for our wide receivers. And Jackson, I mean, you look at the Panthers, like, who do they really have? Xavier Leggett, he did all right last year. There was nothing that screamed number one receiver. Not saying that he can't turn things around in year two. Then you have old man Adam Thielen. So you have some pieces over there, but Tet being, having that draft capital, being drafted in the top 10, he's going to be a guy that people compare to Drake London. People compare it to Michael Pittman. I've heard debates that this guy is a slower guy. I've heard he's Mike Evans. We're going to see what kind of player Tet's going to become, but I think he's going to be a darn good player. I do like him a lot. We talked about Quinshon Judkins a little bit earlier. He's a guy that goes in that 1.7, 1.8 range. I think what threw this draft off was Emeka Egbuka going in the top 5. Like, that was a shocker. He went at 1.5, and I was like excited. So let's talk about Matthew Golden and Emeka Egbuka. Matthew Golden is a guy that I think that he's a dog. I think this guy is going to be a force to be reckoned with. This is going to be a guy that's going to, he's going to give Green Bay that element that they've never had. I've had people saying, hey, I trust the draft capital. Some people say, oh, I see Matthew Golden as a smaller guy. smaller guys still win in this league. If you think smaller, think of a guy like I'm not saying that he's as athletic as OBJ, but think about a guy like OBJ, right? Not necessarily big, but he played bigger than his size. That's what Golden is going to give you, that tenacity. This guy's going to high point the ball and do all these different things. Andre, what's good? Welcome to the stream, my brother. He's going to high point and do a lot of different things. So when I look at, when I get to that 110 range to that 112 range, I'm looking at Matthew Golden, right? And I'm also looking at my guy Emeka Ebuka, right? And what I see out of these two guys is Emeka is a dog, but he's on a team that has Mike Evans, Godwin. You have McMillan over there, right? You have Emeka, but Emeka has that draft capital over a guy like McMillan. Emeka is going to be nice, but I need you guys to wait on him like we waited for JSN. He's going to produce. So if you're trying to win this year in your dynasty leagues, Emeka might not be a guy that produces this year. Matthew Golden is a guy that I feel like can produce this season, and this is why I say what I'm saying. I feel like Romeo Dobbs is gone. He's going to get traded. He's as good as gone. Then you have the gimpy Christian Watson that can't stay healthy to save his life. He's always hurt, so I'm not even counting him. You have Reed. Reed showed you that he's more of a number 2 receiver than he is a number 1 receiver, right? Then you got one of my favorites, Savion Williams. People say, oh, man, I hate the landing spot. The draft capital is what people fail to realize. This guy was drafted in the 3rd round, high 3rd round. Let me see exactly where Savion went in the draft. He did get pretty good draft capital. So he went in the 3rd round, pick 87. That's a top 90 pick. Andre says, Golden is going to shine in our system, explosive and probably the best route runner behind Dobbs. I'm all in. Andre says, I think he'll stand out early too. Yeah, I believe in Golden. I believe in the talent. I believe in what he brings to the table. He has that dog in him, that tenacity. Like, give me the ball. Like, the Green Bay Packers haven't had that receiver that commands the ball. Like, when he says, give me the ball, he's going to get the ball. I think he's one of those kinds of guys. I think he might end up with the best stats as a wide receiver this year. A lot of guys are saying Travis Hunter, but Brian Thomas Jr. is still there. I'm not saying that Travis Hunter can't produce, but I think that Matthew Golden with the quarterback in Jordan Love, I feel like, because Jordan Love spreads the ball. Jordan Love is not a respecter of persons. He does not care who you are. If you're open, he's going to get you the ball. And I think Matthew Golden, like Andre said, is going to be a guy that's going to get open over and over and over. So we might see where Green Bay has a receiver that commands consistent target. And that's pretty much what it's been with Green Bay. If you look at last year, they had a different receiver or tight end lead them each month in receiving yards. It's crazy. I mean, it's amazing. Andre says, Manny, I've been wanting to ask you, what do you think of Higgins in Houston? Is he the truth? I'm getting to Higgins. I'm going to get to Higgins. Higgins is the truth. Matter of fact, let's talk about Higgins right now. So a big debate last night, I was in a draft, and it was Higgins. It was Trey Harris. And then it was Zach Besh. I think that's how you say it, Besh from Raiders. And matter of fact, I put up a poll on my Twitter. And then I think I also had Luther Burden in that category. I think I had Burden at the time. I had Burden, Harris, Besh. Higgins was gone. But Higgins is a guy that I love. Anytime I see Higgins at the 202, if Matthew Golden isn't there, so when we're ranking these receivers, so you have Travis Hunter and Ted. They're like in their own stratosphere, right? Then you go a step down, and then you have Emeka, like I talked about. You got to wait on him, but you have Golden who can give you some production right away this year with tons and tons of targets. Then you go to this next group, right? Sometimes Golden and Emeka are in this group because sometimes they fall into that 102, 101, 201, 202 range. And I've seen it happen over and over again. But Higgins, he's one of my favorites to draft at that 203, 204 when he's right there. If I'm looking at Higgins, Trey Harris, Besh, Burden, I usually go Higgins. The guy is 6'4". Just look at what Nico Collins was able to accomplish with Nico Collins. when Stroud really came into his own in that rookie season, and he saved Nico Collins' career. Nico Collins would not be Nico Collins without a C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud unlocked something special. So I do love Higgins. I do think he's going to be the truth. I mean, the guy is a dog. He's like one of those guys. And then he had the draft capital. He was drafted high in the second round. He's somebody that Houston wanted. We don't know what's going to happen with Tank Dell. So you have to treat that receiving group like Tank Dell isn't even there. They just lost Stephon Diggs, right, to the Patriots. So what does that mean? Higgins is going to have targets. You're going to have a 6'4" Higgins on one side, Nico Collins 6'4" on the other side. And then they drafted somebody, Jalen Noel. This is a guy that a lot of us liked as well. And then for the fact that he was going to Houston, I'm like, oh, man. So what Houston is telling me is like, look, they still have Christian Kirk over there. So I don't know how targets are going to shape out, but I do like Higgins long-term in Houston. I don't know what he does this season, but I've been all in on Higgins. I've been snagging a lot of Higgins. Let's talk about Trey Harris. Trey Harris goes into a sweet landing spot playing with Justin Herbert. I love him coming in, replacing a Quentin Just. I can't even think of. I can't even say his name. Quentin Johnston. So he comes in. He has that dog mentality. Trey Harris was a guy that I loved a lot, a guy that could have gone literally at the end of the first round. You can't fault a team like Kansas City drafting him, but Kansas City went a different route. Then you started seeing the domino of wide receivers going in the second round of the NFL draft. Trey Harris is one of my favorites. I feel like he's in a perfect spot, has some size on him, 6'2", in practice every day versus the likes of Amos. So he's bringing his best, and then so going to Ole Miss, Jackson Dart, that whole thing, that Ole Miss team has the potential to do some nice things in this NFL. Like I said, Trey Harris getting that draft capital, being picked 55, says a lot about what he could bring to the table. Jake SF, what's good? Appreciate you. Welcome to the stream. Please please subscribe if you haven't. I want to be doing more of these Dynasty streams more often. Jake says, working on a rebuild. I traded Josh Downs, Ridley, and a fourth for Xavier Worthy and Keenan Allen. Like the trade. I understand why you made the trade, but there's been a lot of talks about Josh Downs being the number one receiver on the Colts. He's young. I understand getting rid of Ridley. It all depends on how high you feel about Worthy. For me, I want to be the first to say that I was wrong about Xavier Worthy. I thought he would be used incorrectly. I thought he'll be a guy that just goes straight down. But they're learning and they're figuring out ways to get Xavier Worthy the ball. I think Xavier Worthy is going to be one of their top two, if not top wide receiver this year. We don't know what happens with Rashee Rice this season with injury and suspension. So yes, I do somewhat like the trade for you. I felt like you gave up too much to get Xavier Worthy. I think that Josh Downs is gonna. I mean, if you're playing in PPR leagues, he's one of those guys that can honestly get you 100 receptions. So Josh Downs is like you're giving up a younger Keenan Allen. He's like that caliber of guy, even though he's a little bit smaller. So I think it's a fair trade. Like I said, it all depends on how you value Xavier Worthy. To be honest, give me the Josh Downs, Ridley, and the fourth side. That's how I feel about it. I don't know how much longer Keenan Allen has, but one thing I can say is that Calvin Ridley is going to get a ton of targets from Cam Ward. We talked about Cam Ward early on in the show. So, yeah, I love Calvin Ridley this year. I love Josh Downs this year. And I know the fourth is a fourth, but you never know what you might get. Hey, Jake makes an excellent point. He says the QBs in Indy make me nervous. Absolutely. But the thing is, in fantasy, we are looking for what? Targets. I talked about it earlier. Targets. And that's why a guy like Michael Pittman continues to fall in a startup draft. There was a league I was in. Michael Pittman just went like in the 13th round. And it's a start 10. I get it. But look at it this way. Indianapolis has a chance to get their starting QB next season, which is going to be a better QB class. So I'm not too worried about the talent. I always grab talent, but I do love, like I said, I love slot wide receivers in PPR format. I feel like, and I'm gonna give you a prime example. What is a quarterback's best friend? It's a tight end, right? So Tyler Warren is a guy that I'm grabbing in tight end premium leagues anywhere from 1.7 on, as high as 1.5, but 1.6, 1.7 is a sweet spot for Tyler Warren. He's going to be a guy that commands a lot of targets in that offense. I know Downs is there. I know Pittman is there. But, yeah, Warren could have a great value if you guys shop at Walmart, great value Bowers type year. People did not respect where Bowers was going. People were afraid of the QB situation in Vegas last year. It was all over Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew. And Brock Bowers goes on to have one of the most prolific, most amazing seasons for a tight end, rookie tight end ever, right? So I'm not saying that the QBs in Indy is going to perform to a certain point, but I do like Daniel Jones better than I like Anthony Richardson, if we're going to be honest. But both guys are guys that offer using their legs. Daniel Jones could surprise. If you can buy Daniel Jones in Dynasty right now for a third or a fourth round pick, grab you some Daniel Jones. I believe that Daniel Jones takes the job from A-Rich at some point. And then if they bottom out, Riley, which they drafted late in the draft from ND, could possibly be the guy that finished out the year for the Colts. I'm sorry, and the Colts could be drafting their franchise QB next season. It's depending on their record as well. As much better class. Thanks for the feedback. Absolutely, man. Anytime. So we talked about Trey Harris. Besh is a guy that's going to have opportunity for targets in that Vegas offense. Vegas gets an upgrade with a Geno Smith. So I do like that quarterback upgrade. Jacoby Myers is a guy that's going in the 9th or 10th round in startup drafts. And we have to remember that Jacoby Myers did have 1,000 yards last season. What happens if Jacoby Myers is able to get anywhere from 90 receptions and up? Because he is a possession type receiver. So there will be receptions in that offense. Luther Burden, he is one that kind of confuses me. He definitely has a talent, but the landing spot, going to the Chicago Bears, having Caleb Williams as your QB. But what it tells me is that the Bears really want Caleb to be successful. So they drafted him a first-round wide receiver last year in Rome Odunze. They traded a fourth to get Keenan Allen. You already had DJ Moore, who you paid some money. You had Cole Kmet. You had DeAndre Swift. You had all these different talent around Caleb to make him successful. What do they do this season? They go ahead and get a Colston Loveland in the first round in the top 10. Then you go and get a Luther Burden in the second round. What is it telling you? They want Caleb to have as many and as much weapons as possible to be successful. So Luther Burden is a guy that Ben Johnson is handpicking. So we need to be mindful of who Ben Johnson is and what he was able to do with the Lions. They're going to run some 12 personnel with Kmet. What happens with Kmet? He's a guy that I would say hold. Maybe he gets traded to a situation to where he can now, be the starting number one tight end again. But Colston Loveland is a guy that's going anywhere between. I've seen guys go as early as 106 and as late as 112 in tight end premium dynasty rookie drafts. But yeah, Luther Burden, man, he's going anywhere from the 204. That's a sweet spot. If you get him after 204, you've gotten a steal. I think this guy's going to be good. He's a guy that can do a little bit of everything. He's going to run jet sweeps. He's going to run out of the backfield. He's going to run the slot. He is going to man that offense. But for me, it's all about how much work is he going to get in this rookie season. Jake writes, I think Loveland will be a top 10 tight end quick. I agree. I think for Ben Johnson to go ahead and grab his guy, the last time Ben Johnson, although Ben Johnson was not the GM, look at what Sam Laporta was able to do with Ben Johnson in his rookie season. So, yeah, it's not, Loveland can definitely possibly go off. What only thing that scares me with Loveland is that they have a lot of mouths to feed out there. But the same thing can be said about Laporta. They had a lot of mouths to feed over there as well. And then it says, and LB Jr. reminds me of a more athletic Amon-Ra. Luther Burden reminds him of a younger athletic Amon-Ra. Hey, I'm with it. If Luther Burden is anywhere near Amon-Ra, if Luther Burden is more Amon-Ra St. Brown than Deebo Samuels, I'm even more excited. I'm even more excited for Luther Burden right now. So that's going to be something interesting, something fun to watch. I have a few more minutes left on the stream, so I have a few more players to touch up on. Talked about Trey Harris. We talked about that second group. Then there's another group of running backs, right? So after like the top 3, the top 5 running backs go bang, 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 which is usually Ashton Jeanty, right? Then Omarion Hampton. This is the consensus, right? Then you have Travion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins. You kind of pick your fighter, pick your poison, so to speak. Then you have that next tier after like the first 4 with Jeanty, Omarion Hampton, Travion Henderson, and Judkins. That next 2, you have that Caleb Johnson and RJ Harvey. Caleb Johnson, a guy who runs, might not offer much in the passing game, but Caleb Johnson going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh my gosh. What if he is Najee Harris 2.0? That's not a bad thing. Najee Harris has been an RB1. Najee Harris is a consistent RB2. So if this guy is going to offer you RB2 numbers potentially in his 4 years with Pittsburgh, enjoy that. There's nothing wrong with getting an RB2 in the tail end of the first round. Then you have RJ Harvey. Some people are not sure of, but the cool thing about RJ Harvey is, guess what? He's going to get the work. And if you're going to get the workload, why not, right? Why not grab this guy at the end of your first round, especially if you're a contender and you're looking for a running back? Justin Allen says, shout out to my guy Manny, even though the Redskins season was a fluke. It's no longer the Redskins, okay? My guy Jay Allen, man. Hey, I hope you come out tomorrow to play basketball with us while you're over here talking junk. All right, so talked about RJ Harvey, talked about Caleb Johnson. That's that next tier of running backs. The next group after that is honestly Cam Scatterbo, right? Who typically goes around the 2.2 to 2.4. If you get him outside of that, you've gotten a steal. I was able to get him in this draft at the 2.10 just because it's a tight end premium league where you get 2 points per catch. So tight ends are definitely more valuable. But you give me Cam Scatterbo. He can catch the ball. Although he ran one of the slowest numbers in the combine, they call him like a slower running back. This guy runs with so much patience, so much tenacity. His on-field speed is bigger than his straight line speed. I don't care much about straight line speed. I care about, is the running back smart? Do they have vision? Can they see certain things? How hard do they hit the hole? So Cam Scatterbo going to the Giants, perfect landing spot, although he has that 4th round draft capital. In a deep RB draft, in a normal draft, Cam is possibly a day 2 pick, but he was an early day 3 pick, so I can't be mad at that. Then you have Bashul Tutin. You have ETN in the last year of his contract. You have Bigsby for 2 more years. You have Bashul, who had some fumbling issues in college, but who doesn't have fumbling issues in college sometimes, right? But this guy has blazing speed. Maybe he's a guy that they deploy to special teams to start and then work his way into some receiving work. Maybe, so he could be a guy that could be the future of that Jacksonville RB. I mean, that RB room. So we're going to get to really see what Jacksonville is doing there. But outside, like after Tutin and Scatterbo, then you just have a bunch of guys. You have Jaden Blue, who some people say that Jaden Blue could be another Devon Achane. So I've been grabbing Jaden Blue in the 3rd round. I don't know. I like to treat this thing as a student. I don't know nothing, okay? I just grab guys. I use my logic. I use my gut. I'm not going to use metrics and this and that. I don't care. They say, oh, this guy fumbled or this guy couldn't catch, right? They said Brian Robinson couldn't catch, right? Brian Robinson has become a reliable pass catcher for the Commanders, okay? So As we keep talking Jaden Blue, you have Devin Neal, who I loved a lot, but I hated the landing spot going to the New Orleans Saints. I'm like, man, because this guy had the potential to be a number one back on a backfield. Then you have your Dylan Sampson, who, again, pretty good talent. He's going to go back up Junkins and Jerome Ford. We don't know how that shakes out. Then you have Woody Marks. But one of my favorite running backs in this draft is Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt to the Commanders, a guy that was drafted in late 7th round. The Commanders only had 5 picks, and I feel like they did the best they could to maximize their picks. Now, here is what Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is going to give you. Already, he's the fastest running back on the Commanders roster. Already, he gives you that breakaway speed. He gives you that home run hitting ability. So he's a guy that's going in a 3rd round, 4th round, undrafted. But if I'm in that draft and if my guy Shilor is in there, I try to see where is my guy Shilor on the board in the 3rd round. Sometimes I trade up to come and get my guy. In this particular draft, I didn't have a 3rd round pick, but I didn't want to draft Ja'Cory over Cam Scatterbo. I'm not stupid. I'm not a homer. So what I did was I traded Russell Wilson for a 2nd and 26, as well as the 305. In the 305, I grabbed my guy, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. And then, I get that 2nd next year for Russell Wilson, who's a guy that might play the full season, might not play the full season. Depending on the Giants' record, you could see Jackson Dart in year 1. It would be wise if they could keep Jackson Dart stashed away, let him just sit back and learn how to be a pro, but behind Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. We can laugh at Jameis Winston, but Jameis Winston knows how to be a pro. Jameis Winston knows how to stick around in this league. You can say all you want to say. This guy finds a way to get on NFL rosters. Might not be the best QB, but he's a guy that can come in and give you a game or two. Where teams mess up is trusting Jameis Winston past 2 games. Like, after a while, he just kind of – that's Jameis Winston, right? So, back to Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. He was a guy that played 3 years at a minor school, goes to New Mexico, has a great season where he rushed for over 1,000 yards, 17 rushing TDs. And then the next season at New Mexico, he played 1 game because he ran out of eligibility. You can say, oh, my gosh, the guy is old. The guy is what, 24? But who cares? The running back lifespan don't last long anyways. Rookie contract puts Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt at 28 years old. So if he plays 4 years under a rookie contract with the Commanders and potentially – look at the last 3 meaningful backs for the Commanders. The Commanders take Antonio Gibson, a project, in the 3rd round. Antonio Gibson was a guy that definitely gave you value, right? Then they draft Brian Robinson Jr. in the 3rd round. He gave you value. He was a guy that was startable. Now you're getting a guy in the 7th round. In any other draft, because this is so deep, in any other drafts, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is either a 4th or 5th rounder, not a 7th rounder. So it was great for the Commanders to get him there. Jake says, going back to the Bears, do you think Roschon Johnson's value should go up? I know there's a lot of talk about Nick Chubb landing there, but they didn't draft anyone. That's where you're wrong, my friend. The Bears did draft somebody, and I got to find him. Now, when I say they drafted somebody, I'm not saying they drafted the best name or the best prospect or the best talent. His name is Kyle Monangai. Okay? They grabbed this guy, was it like in the 6th or 7th round? He was a 7th round pick, 233. He did sign his rookie contract, so yes, he is on the roster. But yes, Roschon should get more value, but when you look at that backfield, right, I also feel like I don't know how much work Burden is going to get in that backfield as well. I do think Burden it's going to be a committee, but they didn't draft anybody. Roschon's value should go up, but he's going to be more of like a pounder. And that's the same thing that I've been hearing more about this Kyle guy. He's more of even though he's smallish, he's a guy that runs tough. Okay. So Kyle Monangai, 5'8", 211, but he's a tough runner in between the tackles. But Roschon's value should go up. If Roschon Johnson does nothing this season, then we have to start to reevaluate. Is Roschon Johnson good? Is he really good? Like, I mean, what did he do with his opportunities? Like, I can't remember Roschon actually getting out there on the field and doing anything good. So Roschon has had 2 seasons in the NFL. 2 seasons. His first season, 325 rushing yard, 325 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns. Last year, Roschon did have more of an impact with touchdowns. He did have 6 touchdowns last year. And I didn't even know. That's just how quiet it was. So he's going to be a guy that gets a lot of the goal line type stuff. Swift is still there. I think the biggest winner from the Bears not drafting anybody in the first 4 rounds of the NFL draft is DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift's value goes up. He's going to be your main back, right? You're going to sprinkle in some Johnson and sprinkle in this Kyle guy. But Johnson will get a lot of those goal line type carries. So he's a guy that you can stick into your flex if you need something, but you can't really trust Roschon right now. He hasn't had more than 10 carries last year. He didn't rush for more than 33 yards last year. Value should go up, but not by much, in my opinion. Let me see. Is there any other rookies that I've been on that I know? The tight end group is very, very loaded, very, very deep. Outside of Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren, you have a lot of tight ends in this draft that had some pretty good draft capital. It seemed like a bunch of them went in the second round, and then third and fourth, fifth rounds, tight ends went on. Elijah Arroyo from Miami, he's a nice landing spot in Seattle. We've seen that Noah Fant isn't it. We see AJ Barner is a solid tight end to be. So he'll be behind those 2 guys. If you're playing in tight end premium leagues, grab these guys in the second and third rounds of your rookie drafts. Terrence Ferguson, a guy that I love, him going to the Rams. That's a great landing spot. He's going to sit there behind Higbee, but Higbee stays hurt. Davis Allen is not a threat. Then you have Harold Fannin, who went to the Browns. That's a great landing spot. You have Mason Taylor, who the Jets have no other tight end. They don't have a tight end, period. Mason Taylor goes out there, has a chance to get on the field right away. They have not signed or brought in anybody who is going to be a threat. Then you have Gunnar Helm for the Titans. I believe he's better than whatever the Titans have out there at tight end, to be honest. But yeah, there's other smaller name tight ends here and there. There's a tight end for the Chargers who was a basketball player, converted. We've seen the Chargers grab a converted basketball tight end before, and he ended up becoming a Hall of Famer in Antonio Gates. I'm not saying that Oronde Godson is going to be that next best thing, but he's quick. He's a receiver. He might not get on the field a lot because of lack of blocking, but if you need that receiving weapon, he's a guy that fits in right with that offense. Jake says, I think Ferguson is going to be tight end 1 in LA by the end of the year. I agree. I don't trust Higbee. We've seen the best of Higbee. We've seen Davis Allen have a little flash here and there. Terrence Ferguson is him. Like, he is a beast. And I think they found them a dog right there. Ooh, I got to sneeze. Ooh, excuse me, guys. Excuse me. So we talked tight ends. We talked a little bit about the QB class not being the strongest, but there are some guys that have some intrigue. Jackson Dart, if you can get him anywhere between the 110 to the 206, that's a great range to go ahead and get your Jackson Dart. You sit him, let him sit for a year, and then you kind of see what you're working with Jackson Dart. Jalen Milroe, he's one of those guys. He's not the best, but guess what? If you loved Anthony Richardson and his running, you're going to love Jalen Milroe and his running. And look, in fantasy, we're just chasing points. I don't know if he's going to be a long-term fixture for the Seattle Seahawks, but I do love the landing spot. Sam Darnold just got there. He had a great year last year. What happens to Sam Darnold this season? So he's a guy that I feel like under the right tutelage and him learning and being groomed, who knows? He could be a guy that actually gets a chance in Seattle. Jalen Milroe. Then you have Tyler Shock, right? a guy that went in the second round, you have to honor that draft capital. The same way you guys were going after a Will Levis at the end of your rookie drafts that year in the first round or early second round. Tyler Shock is a guy. I don't know what happens with Derek Carr. Surgery, no surgery. Is Derek Carr done with the New Orleans or not? Tyler Shock is possibly head over heels better than Spencer Rattler right now. So if something was to happen to Derek Carr, I think that Spencer Rattler starts the year as a starter, but they're going to go to Tyler Shock sooner than later. And this guy aired it out in Louisville. Go look at his tape. He looks like your prototypical type QB. If he's groomed correctly, he could be a starter. I'm not saying he's the franchise QB, but you never know. There's a reason why these GMs get paid the big bucks. Who else? So you have Shedeur Sanders. People don't know where to grab him. He's a fifth rounder. The way I look at this whole Cleveland mess, between Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco, one of those two don't make the team. And my gut tells me that Joe Flacco gets cut. Even if it's Kenny Pickett, they didn't trade much to go get him anyways. The Browns ended up drafting two QBs, wasting draft picks. So even if they traded for a Kenny Pickett, he can still get cut. Because drafting a Dylan Gabriel in the third and coming back with Shedeur in the fifth, that's like, why not just grab Shedeur in the third, or don't grab Dylan and just take Shedeur in the fifth? Like, I didn't understand the logic of grabbing two QBs back to back. Somebody's saying they might end up trading one of those two guys in the future. I can see that. But I can also see a scenario where only Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett makes the team. Deshaun Watson's done, so we're not even going to include him in that. So with Shedeur, grab him anywhere in the third, wherever you feel comfortable. I think that Shedeur ends up being the QB for the Browns at some point, but that does not make Shedeur safe. That doesn't mean that Shedeur is the future. The Browns most likely are going to be terrible. They did pick up that extra pick when they traded that second overall to Jacksonville. And Jacksonville was able to take, Travis Hunter. So they do have multiple firsts, and they could be in the market of finding their franchise quarterback next year in a much stronger QB class. If Cleveland does not address their QB situation next season, they'll be criminal. I just don't see a scenario where Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders does something so magnificent to where those are the future. They are the future guy. You cannot neglect that QB position. So it's not the end for Shedeur, but grab him in the third round. And if he does start you some games, you can put him into your lineup on a bye week and chase some points that way. If we talk about Dylan Gabriel, he's a fourth rounder, undrafted. Will Howard is a guy that I'm intrigued by. We don't know what Aaron Rodgers is doing. He's possibly still in the darkness, being weird like he always is. So Will Howard is going to be a guy that, they might put out there. Mason Rudolph is there, but Will Howard is a guy that intrigues me because of the potential of getting out on the field. And then everybody else, Quinn Ewers being in a spot where Tua Tagovailoa stays hurt, maybe he's a guy that sees the field. If the Miami, I almost said the Miami Heat or the Miami Hurricanes. Oh my God, Miami Dolphins. If the Miami Dolphins end up having a bad season, you could see Quinn Ewers this season. But he's in a good landing spot. He's going to get to learn. He's going to be in a prolific, high-powered offense over there. And then Riley Leonard goes to a great spot in Indy. You have Daniel Jones. You have A-Rich. Two guys that possibly might lose their job. Like I said, Riley might see the field this year. So that's what I'm seeing out of my end. Out of these rookie drafts, Jordan James is a good running back to snag. We all know that any running back looks good in that Shanahan system. Am I missing anybody? Rashad Smith converted wide receiver to running back going to the Chiefs. It could be somebody that you're interested in. But yes, tons and tons of people in this draft. Torrey Horton, the guy that goes to Seattle to be the number 3 wide receiver. He's a Cooper Kupp injury away from being relevant, and I think he's better than Jake Bobo. Savion Williams, we talked about Green Bay a little bit earlier. I do believe that Romeo Doubs gets traded, and if he does, Savion Williams could be that number 3 wide receiver on Green Bay, and he's being drafted so late, 4th, 5th round, sometimes undrafted. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. If you guys have never heard of me before and want to hear more of me, please subscribe to the channel, Talking Sports with Manny. Appreciate you guys for tuning in on the stream. I'll be talking more rookies. Maybe I'll go in depth, position by position, and like always, y'all feel free to drop some questions, some comments into the comment section. And if you guys are catching this as a replay, I'll be sure to reply to every single message. I'm going to be dropping some content on the TikTok, which is Dynasty Overload. I am with Dynasty Overload as well. I'll be dropping some content there. Appreciate you guys. And I'm going to catch you guys on that next episode. I'm out. Peace.